So, a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. Thank you for sharing that. A little bit of housekeeping before we get going. So, as you know, with all of our series, mine that I teach, James that he teach, there is a monthly devotional that you'll follow along with the Bible app. If you don't have a smart device or a cell phone where you do that, you can also use on the World Wide Web, right? And you just look for the Wonder Bible Plan, and it'll find it. Unfortunately, I realize this now after the first week, that this QR code, if you scanned it, it only takes you to a basic summary of the 4 weeks that we're going to talk, the basic summary of the 4 topics. It doesn't open the Bible app for you, but you all are tech savvy and smart and bright, sharp tools here, so you can open up the Bible app on your phone or your smart device if you have it, and you just search under plans for the plan called Wonder. And you have to scroll down a little bit when I did this myself, and you'll find it. You open it and you follow it, right? You can start at any point, or since we're already at August 16th, start at day 16 and continue to track with it, because not only is it a good, very brief couple of minutes every day that you can do, just kind of keep you on track with reading and some message that's uplifting and helpful, but also it will be what we are referencing for our discussions at 9:30 in the morning, which, again, this morning I thought was a fruitful one. Those of us who were there, again, we're referencing right out of the week that we have, let's say, for the Wonder app. So download it, use it. You can do it even in the car ride to school, right? But get yourselves doing something a little bit every day, and it establishes what we would say a positive habit.
And this past week was short.
And this past week was short. Yeah, my wife pointed out that the longest one was Psalm 111, which wasn't too long. The rest of the devotionals for this week were like 2 verses each. I mean, how many of y'all can handle 2 verses? Give me 2 verses and a quick summary and keep it moving, right? Because I ain't got time for a 50-minute devotional quite yet. But you can build into 2-3 minutes, 10 minutes, and that'll work to help develop not only your devotional skill, your devotional habits, but as well keep you ready to contribute to the conversations at 9:30 in the morning. All right? Okay. We're back into our series called Wonder, which is a series about worship as a lifestyle, right? And last week we were discussing the big idea that we worship because God is holy, right? Holy, H-O-L-Y. In other words, God being holy, He is holy, W-H-O-L-L-Y. He is entirely other. God is entirely different, unique, distinct from everything else that we encounter or we see, everyone else that we engage with or have a relationship with, and everything in the heavens, the cosmos, the earth, right, and around us. God is entirely other. He is holy. And because of that, we worship. And our call to action, right, was to try and be holy ourselves. Not be God, because we can't be, but be holy, be unique, be separate, be different from the world, those in the world around us, right, so that we can exercise a degree of holiness for ourselves. This week we're moving into the subject of that we worship because God provides. God is our provider, right? So I want to start with a little illustration here. And for those of us who are aware, Arizona, we're familiar with Arizona, has one of the world's greatest natural wonders called the Grand Canyon, right? The Grand Canyon is nearly 300 miles long, right? It's over 1 million total acres in its expanse. To give you some point of reference, right, what are we sitting on here at HOI, right? Maybe 5 acres, right, worth of space, right? So the Grand Canyon is 1 million acres, right? And it's so big that the Grand Canyon can actually be seen in its entirety from outer space, right? And there's even a really cool thing with the Grand Canyon that I discovered. I've never been. When you go there, it's called the Skywalk. Can all of you see this right on the screen here? It's called the Skywalk. This is basically a bridge that extends out over the Grand Canyon, and I wish I could show you the video, but for sake of time, The bridge itself is like a big U shape, right? And then it's built with this thick, like plexiglass. So when you're walking out on this skywalk, you can see straight down for 4,000 feet. Clear through the floor, 4,000 feet on what's called the skywalk. You want to catch me up there? Thank you, but no thank you, right? But this is the Grand Canyon, this wondrous, massive, natural wonder, right? So how many of you, because I asked last week, right, about one of the natural, which one did, I'm even forgetting my own thing. Where was it? Mount Everest. Thank you. See, somebody was here paying attention. Thank y'all, right? How many of you would climb Mount Everest, right? Would you hike Mount Everest, right? How many of you here would hike the Grand Canyon for 1 week? For 1 week. I took a helicopter, airdropped you in. Here you go. Welcome to the Grand Canyon. You've got 1 week to hike around and survive in the Grand Canyon. 1 week. I got a few hands. Who would definitely not do that? Like, thank you. I'll see pictures of it here on the screen. I'm good, right? That's me. I'm good. I wouldn't hike it, right? How many? We've got a good, about half of you or so would hike it for a week. For those of you who definitely would hike it, and even for those who wouldn't, what provisions would you need to survive the hike? Give me some provisions that you think you would definitely need to survive hiking the Grand Canyon in all its specifications that we just talked about. So your hand right there, yeah, go for it. Yeah, it's like a plane ticket home, a satellite phone for when I need to get airlifted out of here. Okay, a plane ticket home. That is a good one, I'll be honest with you. Go ahead. What is it? A hatchet, okay, like a handheld axe, a hatchet, okay. Did you forget your answer? Sunscreen. You definitely would need sunscreen. It is in Arizona. This is like desertous kind of terrain. Yep. Food and water. You would need food and water. Like that's got to be first one of those, right? Yes, you would need food and water. Okay. Toilet paper. Toilet paper. You mean there's not leaves out there that you can use? Okay. So for a week, you would also need toilet paper, right? Plane ticket, hatchet, food and water, toilet paper. Give me a couple more. Hair products. He's like, when I hike the Grand Canyon, I want to look cute. Okay. Okay, so you would need rope and a harness. What would you need that for? Okay, right, because you see the cliffs, right? You want to scale it. You need rope and a harness. All right. Give me one more. I saw some other hands back there. Yep. You need a first aid kit. Okay, all right. And if you're super clumsy, you need a big first aid kit, okay? All right. Give me another one. What do you need to hike the Grand Canyon for a week? An Airbnb. Can you imagine? Listen, people are pretty, like, aggressively resourceful. I'm sure there's one out there somewhere, right? But it is a national park, so maybe not. Go for it. What is it?
A camel or a horse.
A camel or a horse. Okay, you're giving a lot of credit to that horse. Okay, did you have your hand up? Okay, give me one more. You need a tent. Okay. So there are a lot of things that I think we all can appreciate that we would need. And today I want you to think about, right, as we dive into this subject, how our response to life's biggest challenges and smallest blessings can be worship, right? How we respond to life's biggest challenges and smallest blessings and how that can be worship, right? It starts with a simple truth, a very simple truth that probably most of us are aware of, if not believe outright, and that is that God provides. Very simply, God provides, right? Or another way that I'm going to say this, and I want you to hear it when I say the term God provides, is this. God gives us everything that we need, right? We apply this principle every day, whether we know it or not, and whether we ascribe it to God or not. So let me illustrate this for a second, right? Think just for a couple quick seconds. Give me the top 5 or 6 things that you absolutely need to survive your normal everyday life. Not the Grand Canyon, your normal everyday life. I wake up, brush my teeth, do my hair, go to school, come back, rinse, repeat. on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Your everyday life for 1 week, just think Monday through Friday. What are the 5 things you absolutely need to survive in your normal everyday life? I saw you first go. Food. Okay. Any specific food? Like just pizza, right? Okay. Food, the general food. Food. Okay. What do you say? Perfume. Let's say. Man, this is the cute corner, right? I need my hair products. I need my perfume. Okay, I need my perfume. But this is to survive your everyday life, right? You need perfume. Okay.
A house or something for protection.
A house, right? Okay, so we need perfume. we need food. We need shelter, right? A home. Okay. My bed. Okay. Do you have a queen size, king size, something big? Oh, you got full size. Okay, all right, that works. Wait till you start graduating. You'll be rolling over 10 times and you're in a king. You just still didn't roll off.
Car.
You need a car. Okay, specifically if you live in Charlotte, yeah, you definitely need a car. Okay.
Water.
You need water. So you need food, water, shelter, transportation, perfume. Did everybody hear that? You need to define need, right? Is this a need or a want, right? Y'all ever hear that, right? So, right, 5 to 6 things that you absolutely need to survive your week. Hygiene, okay, so what? Deodorant, soap, right, that kind of thing. Okay. To get toothpaste, toothbrush. Yep, okay. Music. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Definitely need music. That's going to get me through. Clothes, right? Did anybody say clothes yet? All right, we're just going to tie some leaves together, Adam and Eve style. What are you wearing? Couture. What are you wearing? Adam and Eve, right? Right? What do we need? We've got everything, right? Housing, clothing, a tent. Right, somebody said a tent before for hiking. What else? What else? Give me one more. That you need. This is to survive your everyday life. Like I can't get up and go attack my day without these things I needed to survive. Nobody said internet. That's interesting. Go for it. Coffee. So that falls under the umbrella of like food and drink, but you definitely need coffee. Yeah, I'll take half my ration of water, and then the other half for water will actually be coffee instead, right? Okay. How much of this, I want you to think about this. I know we kind of joke about different things when it comes to it, when I'm like, yeah, hair care products or coffee, but think of the 5 or 6 things you absolutely need to survive your everyday life. I'm talking like without it, you can't survive. Of those items, how much of it did you buy or obtain on your own? You. How much of those items, 5 to 6 things that you needed to survive, how many of them did you buy or obtain on your own? How many of y'all, at least one of them on your list, you secured for yourself without your parents or someone else giving it to you? What was it? What was it? Clothes. Okay, so you bought your own clothes. How many of y'all go to the store and buy your own clothes? Like maybe mom and dad or whomever don't buy the clothes for you, but how many of them give you the money so you can go buy your own clothes? Does that change your answer? It's like, so independently obtained on my own with my allowance, right, or something, right? Okay. All right, did you have your hand up for something you obtained on your own? Does anyone have something they obtained on their own of those necessity items? Clothes, you said, okay. So, again, was it allowance or mom and dad gave you some? You worked and you got your own money. Okay, all right.
I guess it's not a necessity, but kind of is, like books.
Books. So you need the books to survive your everyday life. Okay. And did you obtain those on your own?
Sometimes.
Okay. You went to the library, rented them, or you bought them? Okay, all right. Gas for the car. So we got plane ticket, gas. My man, you thinking straight today. Okay. Give me one more.
I buy my bar soap.
Was it like a special soap?
No, I just get what I want.
Okay, see? All right, so I've obtained my soap. So we said hygiene was a very important thing to survive my week. Right? So to survive, I need to brush my teeth, wash my body, right? Okay. Some of y'all don't take showers every day, right? And maybe that's why this whole front row is empty. I'm just kidding. Right? These are things that and this is a simple intellectual exercise, right? I know it's a simple intellectual exercise, and for most of us, even if you have jobs, it's right just to secure like your ability to maybe have a new video game you want or something. But the reality is that it's good for us to be reminded how much all of us rely on someone else for our basic needs, right? I know this is particularly relevant when you're a teenager and you're under the jurisdiction of your parents or your guardians or whomever that may be, because you're not paying the mortgage for your shelter that you need to survive. You didn't maybe buy the mattress that you sleep on that's super comfy. You didn't necessarily pay the bill at the food store, right? You're maybe not working, right? Some of y'all have jobs, yeah, but with the cost of everything these days, you couldn't even afford a carton of eggs, right? And so you have to rely on these other people. And you say, well, when I get in adulthood, I won't rely on nobody. No, because even if you get into adulthood, I have a job and I get a paycheck, so I think, yeah, I pay my own bills, I pay my own mortgage, I buy my own food. Yeah, and what if the man signing my paycheck stops signing my paycheck? I have to depend on that man signing my paycheck, right? And you say, well, then forget that. I won't work for nobody. I'll start my own business. I'll be an entrepreneur, right? I will start my own business. Or an instrapreneur, right? They call it today, right? An influencer, instrapreneur. Right? I'll start my own business. Well, guess what? You work for yourself. You're your own person. I'm self-providing. Yeah, but you still need somebody to buy your product. You still need somebody to come out to whatever it is that you're doing or buy or purchase or be involved in what you're selling or follow and subscribe if you're doing this, right, in today's world, right? You still have to depend on someone. And I believe that God is 100% intentionally designed it that way, that we cannot survive in a vacuum. We cannot survive in solitude. We cannot survive by ourselves, right? We need God's provision, and sometimes God uses others, and sometimes God does provide for us independent of others, right? But whether we're hiking the Grand Canyon or overcoming fear on a skywalk, or just going about our everyday life, again, we all need help sometimes. I want you to think about this for a second. Because while God provides everything that we need, I don't believe that it always prompts all of us to then turn and worship Him, right? A simple example is mom and dad, or guardian that we say, they bought the house you live in, right? They gave you your shelter. That's what parents are supposed to do, or guardians, right? How often do we thank them? Hey, Mom, I know it's the first of the month. Thanks for paying the mortgage so we're not on the street, right? Hey, Dad, thanks for making dinner, right? Not always do we thank. We take that for granted, right? Hey, Uncle so-and-so, thanks for buying me that new outfit. I look really good and got a lot of compliments on it, right? Thanks for that. How often do we take for granted the provisions that come to us from the people that provide them to us? And I think just in principle, we find the same thing happening sometimes with God, right? So God provides for us. God gives us everything that we need, right? And our right response is to respond in worship, right? Last week we looked at the Psalms and how they help us understand worship, right? The psalmists were filled with wonder and responded to their experience. They wrote about what they were feeling, thinking, hoping. If you want to see like a whole emotional mixed bag, read the Psalms. You'll get the whole thing, from happy to sad to devastated to running, singing praises of joy, right? These are poems and songs that help us see how we can worship in different ways, right? So let's take a look at just one of them here in Psalm 111, right? It's a couple of slides here to get through it, but I want to read that. So somebody who's got a big booming voice, or can cut through if you don't have booming with that much testosterone. Read it nice and loud. Who wants to read? Give me a hand. Somebody show me. Man, nobody want to read. Everybody want to answer the question? Nobody want to read? Okay, Messiah, that's it. You knew I was coming for you. You come first. All right. Nice and loud.
Praise the Lord with all my heart. I will thank the Lord. In the assembly of His people, how wonderful are the things the Lord does.
Next slide.
All who are delighted with them want to understand them. All He does is full of honor and majesty. His righteousness is eternal. The Lord does not let us forget His wonderful actions. He is kind and merciful.
Continue. Just advance that one, James. After.
He provides food for those who honor him. He never forgets his covenant. He has shown his power to his people by giving them the lands of foreigners. In all he does, he is faithful and just. All his commands are dependable. They last for all time. They were given in truth and righteousness. He set his people free and made an eternal covenant with them. Holy and mighty is he. The way to become wise is to honor the Lord. He gives sound judgment to all who obey his commands. He is to be praised forever.
Thank you, Hussein. And so the author of this psalm, he praises God for providing food, home to people who need it. But not only that, he also points out the physical needs, but God also provides the grace, compassion, and redemption to the people who follow God. So you see in the psalm, like, yeah, okay, you get food and you get shelter and the basic provisions like some of what we talked about, but you'll also get from God things that are non-physical. We might call them spiritual, right? Sometimes we would say emotional because they're non-tangible in the sense that if God provides compassion, forgiveness, love, long-suffering, and so on, redemption, those are the things that we consider spiritual. So God covers both our physical and our spiritual needs, and we can see that with this psalm, right? Because remember, to worship, it's a response, right? And the psalm shows us what that can look like, right? God provided the psalmist, and he responded with worship, right? So let me ask this question. Have you ever worshiped, and I know we touched on this morning for those of you who were there, but let's put this to the broad audience. Have you ever worshiped as the result of God's provision, like in Psalm 111 that we read? Has God ever provided for you in such a way that you said, man, this really inspires me to worship? Think about this. Anyone? Have we ever considered that God's hand of provision came through people like our parents or guardians or those who have overseen our lives in such a way that we can go home to a full refrigerator or a cozy bed or a TV and couch where we can Netflix and chill and kind of have a relaxing Saturday afternoon, right? But I want to think of this conversely for a second, right? We worship because God provides. And the thought is to say he provides for us. But sometimes, yes, God provides to us, and sometimes God provides through us. So think about this for a second. What are some ways, right, the flip side of this provision conversation, what are some ways that you can or have provided for someone else? Have you ever done something to provide for someone? Can you think of anything?
Paying for someone at the store.
Paying for someone at the store.
Yeah.
Okay. What store and what were you paying for? I'm just being nosy.
And he's like for my friend whenever we go out or sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, listen, you at Chick-fil-A and you're like, don't worry, I got this. The number 7's on me, right? Or something like this. All right, that seems small, but you'd be shocked how much that can mean to the friend, right? A lot of times in Jersey, there's tolls like all through these highways, Jersey and New York. You get tolls and bridges that you have to pay for. And it happens a lot where drivers will go to pay the toll and they'll go, here's the toll, and pay for the dude behind me. So I can tell you that happened to me several times, and I'm like, what? And it's kind of those pay it forward moments, and you realize like somebody just took care of that for me. It's small, but it's a helpful reminder that God is superintending my life. Yeah.
Like provide comfort, like if they're going through something, or like a birthday gift.
Or a birthday gift. Okay. Now, do you find that helps you to more easily come into, say, the presence of the Lord and say, I worship you, Lord, I praise you, like to be worshipful toward God when you receive those things?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Anyone else?
Just housework. Like my mom works, so all the housework is done.
Your mom works what, you said?
But my mom works, so most of the housework, cooking,
Okay.
is on me. So if I don't cook, they go hungry.
If I don't cook, they go hungry. I could say that in my house because I'm the one who cooks, but my wife's like, nope. Boom, I make a phone call. She's like, I cook. I go pick up dinner from Yafo or something, right? Okay, go to Chick-fil-A. All right. So I do find that it's often that we have a more meaningful worship experience when we've been used to provide for others, right? Yes, okay, we might have a meaningful worship experience, often we do, when God provides for us and we're the recipients of some good thing or provision that God has poured out. But it's this very strange irony in our lives where we actually are prompted to be more worshipful, more grateful when we're being used to provide for somebody, right? Right? Because, and I know it's kind of silly, but like if you are paying that bill for your buddy at Chick-fil-A, right? There's something that, yeah, okay, you might feel like, oh, I'm so awesome. But there is a part of you that's like, man, thank you, Lord, for giving me a double blessing so I can buy mine and his, right? Or for my parents for giving me an allowance so that I can do that, right? Isn't that how it goes? Yeah.
It's not always in money, but in service. Like if someone needs something, like I know I've picked up people off the street.
Yeah.
Take them.
We don't recommend that, especially for new teen drivers. Some of y'all driving, right? You see somebody who needs a ride on the street, you pull over and like, do you need a ride? And the people are like, oh my gosh. I've done that many times. We've done that, but please use discernment and now don't go run into your folks and be like, Josh Ortiz said I should go pick up strangers and drive them to their destination. Stop.
Or like when elderly people need
But
help in their
no,
home.
right. You would be surprised how the Lord can use you in very meaningful ways. Just a fun fact, since my wife is talking about this. There was one time right here on Ray Road, by the big St. Matt's, by the big Calvary Church, there's only one direction you can go on Ray Road, and then one direction is divided by trees. This one lady was driving the opposite direction, right, in her car. And it was an older lady, and she wasn't entirely with it. And I'll tell you, you wouldn't be surprised, you'd be shocked how many cars were like, get out of the way, beep, beep, beep. And they were just trying to, like, hurry past a vehicle going in the wrong direction on the wrong side of the road, right? And, like, I was trying to block with my car the traffic so that we could get to this lady. My wife jumps out the car, runs over to the vehicle where this old lady's driving, and she's like, are you okay? Jumps in the car and drives this lady. I followed them to her home, right? And trying to work with her, like, do you remember where you live? What's your address? And so forth. Got her all the way home, and I think you prayed for her, blessed her, and kept it moving. You think that this lady was not seeing God's provision in that simple act, right, of service, of kindness, and maybe even more worshipful and grateful to God as a result? Look, my wife, us, you, we're not heroes. We don't wear capes. But that's a simple maybe thing that we could have done where everybody else is walking past, and you just do what the right thing is to do in that moment, right? And a lot of times I find when we're being used, we do have more meaningful worship experiences with God, right? Okay, let's look at another popular scripture when it comes to this same idea of God's provisions. Luke 12, 22 verse 22 to 31. I need another reader, somebody who can be nice and loud. Oh yeah, John Daniel, here you go. Nice and loud for everybody here. Go.
And Yeshua said to the disciples, and so I tell you, not to worry about the food you need to stay alive, or about the clothes you need for your body. Life is much more important than food, and the body much more important than the clothes. Look at the crows. They don't plant seeds or gather harvest. They don't have strong storage rooms or barns, and still God feeds them. You are worth so much more than birds. Can any of you live any longer by worrying about it? If you can't manage even such a small thing, why worry about the other things? Look how the flowers grow. They don't work or make clothes for themselves. But I tell you, not even King Solomon, with his wealth and clothes as beautiful. It is God who clothes the wild grass that is here today and gone tomorrow, burned up in the oven. Won't he be all the more sure to clothe you? What little faith you have? So don't be upset, always concerned about what you will eat and drink. For the pagans always worry about all these things. Your Father knows what you need. Instead, seek his kingdom, and he will provide you with all these things.
Thank you. This is a powerful message about trusting in God's provision. And again, it's an often quoted scripture, right? But it's very easy for us to worry about what will come next. Just a simple poll, right? How many of us on Sunday night, when you know you got to get up Monday morning to tackle your week, whether it's school or whatever, how many of you that, what do they call it? The Sunday scaries kick in for y'all, right? Where you just all of a sudden you're like, Monday, tomorrow I got to start with this, and the whole week is going to be ELG testing, and blah, 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 and now I'm going to go here and do this. Do you get the Sunday scaries? Am I the only one thinking about that anticipated week coming up, right? But this is what's interesting about this text. Even when Yeshua was teaching on earth, right, people wondered if God would take care of them, right? Especially the Jewish people, because they have historically, throughout time, since their inception, been oppressed and been on the brink of extinction, right? Historically, the Jewish people have always been just at the precipice of extinction, right? Being wiped out of the earth, if not for God's provision and safeguard, right? So even when he was on earth, he was like, don't worry, God's going to take care of you. Don't worry, God's going to take care of you. And despite in this verse, when he says flatly, God will take care of you, they still worry, right? So listen very carefully, I want to say some things that I penned out that I hope will be a blessing and an encouragement and speak to you. Listen very carefully as we make a few applications here, right? Number one, cling to optimism about school and your future. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the pressure to get good grades, get into the right college, choose the right career, friend group, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And this anxiety is often rooted in the fear that you will not have what you need to succeed in the future. Luke reminds us that worrying doesn't help us live any longer or change the outcome of our situations. So instead of worrying, focus on your responsibilities each day, knowing that God will provide the necessary resources, opportunity, and wisdom in your future. So study your butts off. Study diligently. But tell God about your feelings of failure, perfectionism, and how it can dictate your behavior. Number two, trust God with your social life. Social media, peer pressure, these things can set standards for happiness, popularity, relationships, success, and fulfillment that I think we all know intellectually, but don't always put into practice, that they're unattainable. This too can lead to a lot of anxiety and feeling of inadequacy. So the message of Luke 12 is to see God's kingdom, which means prioritizing a relationship with God over worldly pursuits. What is one thing that we do often, one habit or routine, that we do in our lives every day or most every day that takes you 5 or 10 minutes that you know can be cut out? Can we drop it and use that time now as a replacement to spend with God? Right? Trust that God can provide the right friends and social connections for you because He knows the friends you need and He will provide them. Be generous with your resources. We mentioned this already. There's often a need to acquire more stuff. You may have that sense right now. It will only get worse as you enter the workforce and start to buy stuff for yourself on your own. Because now you're the manager and steward of your own money, quote unquote, right? So there's often a need to acquire more stuff, whether it's the latest phone, trendy clothes, or expensive gadgets. This desire is typically driven, listen, by the belief that these things will bring happiness or fulfillment. We don't say that or admit it openly, but that's how we live and sometimes secretly believe. In Luke 12, we're encouraged to, quote, as it says, sell all your possessions and give it to the poor. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to sell everything that you belong necessarily, but it does mean that you can adopt a mindset of generosity by giving away what you have, whether it's money, time, or even a listening ear. Sometimes we don't even want to give away our listening ear or shoulder to cry on because we're busy, We feel in some kind of way. We're preoccupied, distracted. And so when somebody's trying to cry or vent or needs a friend, we're doing something else and not giving them maybe generously the way we could. I mean, how many of y'all know sometimes you just look at some of your friends and you're like, nah, we got to hug this out. Come on, come here. Come on, let's hug this out. Right? And then everybody feels better, especially the person who's going through it. All the guys in the room are like, no, we never do that. We give daps, right? All right, so let's dap this out. Well, let's adopt a new one, right? Let's dap this out, right? Or get a secret handshake or something cool, right? Have the guy equivalent, if that's the case, right? But even men, let's say this as a quick caveat, even men get real emo in certain situations. Watch how some of these grown, like burly dudes start acting when they win the Super Bowl, right? They're hugging each other, giving high fives, weeping, right? Grabbing their kids and their wives, right? Or when one of these burly, manly men have a child and hold that new life in their hands for the first time, right? So it's not beyond your manhood to do this, but sometimes you just got to say, let's hug this out, right? Whatever it is that you got to give away, position yourself to be generous with your resources so that you can be the person who's acting on the belief that God will provide what someone else needs in the way that he provides for you, right? This act of giving challenges the notion that your own resources are the source of security while building up, while you do this over and over again, a trust that God is the ultimate provider. And lastly, rely on God's guidance, not your own wisdom. Now, that is a bumper sticker cliche if I ever heard one, right? But cliches often are rooted in truth, right? Every one of us, you guys, me, all of us, we face many decisions, big and small, from choosing classes to dealing with difficult scenarios, right? The temptation is to rely solely on your own understanding or the advice of your friends. How do I know this? When you get into a pinch, we all do this, everybody does, it's human nature. When we get into a pinch, do you consult wise counsel? Do you look in the scriptures for maybe some answer from God? Do you prayerfully seek for the voice of the Lord? Or do you just try to figure out what's going on your own? Maybe another layer to that is, do you just try and seek out your friends who can just hype up your side of the story, right? You see this often in bad relationships that break up, and like all the person wants to do is seek out their friends who are going to be like, I told you he was no good for you. He was a jerk, and I knew it from day one. Now we know. Boo, boo, boo. And you spend the next 4 hours texting each other or in conversation just entirely bad-mouthing the dude or the girl, right? Because the person has actually sought out, oh, y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, been there, done that about the t-shirt, right? Because you're seeking out people that are just going to reinforce that opinion and make you feel good instead of what God has to say, right? Instead of maybe what God has to say about the situation. But the temptation, again, is to rely solely on your understanding and the advice of others, right? So Luke tells us not to be anxious about what we eat, drink, because the nations of the world, people who are not godly, they worry about that stuff. But the Father takes care of us, right? When facing a big decision, choose to seek God's wisdom and guidance. Listen carefully. Search the scriptures for guidance. Seek out wise and trustworthy people who can coach you. Open up to those people and let them help you. Pray to the Lord about all of it. And be patient with God while he responds, because he may not respond as immediately as we prefer. And, there's a big one, be patient with yourself while you learn to hear his voice. I can't tell you now, in decades of walking with the Lord myself, there are times where I'll look back and say, I thought I heard it clear then. And now as I've matured, I say, I probably wouldn't have done the same thing, but I heard what I heard at the time because that's where I was. Be patient with your growth and your ability to hear from God and learn to hear his voice. In Genesis 28, Joshua 4, 1 Samuel 7, and other scriptures, there are stories of people who use stones to build reminders of God's work and voice in their life, right? Every time people pass these stones, they reflected on their past provisions, right? Something similar exists, and actually you get into this hiking Mount Everest, learning about the Grand Canyon. This is something that I found very, very interesting. It's something called a cairn. C-A-I-R-N, a cairn. A cairn it's a man-made pile of stones, like what you see on the screen, used as a landmark, a trail marker or a memorial, right? They can be found in various locations, including hiking trails, mountains, and even burial sites. Cairns are commonly used to mark hiking trails, especially in areas where the path might be unclear or where there are multiple potential routes. They guide hikers and help them stay on the intended path. What a great object lesson for our lives and walks with the Lord. I want to do something really quick to do just kind of an exercise. Can I get some hander-outers? An exercise where we might, right now, just for another minute, build a cairn. Build a cairn of stones, right? Take one down, pass it around. And if you don't have a pen or a pencil or a writing tool, please just raise your hand. We'll get one to you. You need some more? Oh, thank you.
Is anyone missing? Anyone need a paper?
All right. Does everybody, you need a pen or pick? You got one? Good? Everybody have something to write with? And a paper. And again, the cairn is something that's set up as a memorial, as a reminder, again, meant to mark the way, lead the path, especially in areas of hiking and elsewhere where you don't have like street signs and where a GPS may not go, right? So on this paper, listen close for the instructions. Here's what I want you to put. Number one, for another minute or so, write down something that you're worried about. For some of us, maybe we could fill that whole page. You pick top number 1 or 2. And just practically speaking, if you feel uncomfortable that maybe somebody's looking or we got some open seats, just come where nobody's looking at your paper or there's no chance of it being seen. Write down something that you're worried about. Again, it could be school assignment, a friendship struggle, unmet need, or anything that's heavy on your mind. Write down something you're worried about. Everybody got at least one item, something you're worried about. Next, I want you to write, am I moving too fast? Give a minute, you're good? Next, I want you to write this one. Write down one way, at least one, more if you need to, one way that you've seen God provide for you in the past, no matter how small, no matter how small. No matter how small. One way you've seen God provide for you in the past, big or small. The other day I was downstairs and I hear my wife from upstairs exclaim, "Woohoo, thank you," because I made the bed. And it was like her day to make. Our rule is like whoever the last person up makes the bed, right? So I made the bed. And it's just, sometimes that's a small blessing. Like, oh, thank God I don't have to do that. Doesn't matter how small. Something that can bless, that God has provided for you in the past. Or big. Everybody got at least one there. Give another second. Again, something you worry about, and then something that God has provided for you. All right. And last, write one way that God needs to provide a cairn. That is, something that will clearly guide or direct your path. Right? Remember, the cairns are these assembling of stones. One of the reasons is to be a guide for hikers. And a reference point, C-A-I-R-N, cairn, or kern. Heard it pronounced a couple different ways. One way that God needs to provide something that will clearly direct your path. If you feel so bold, you can specify what that needs to be. But don't hold to it so tightly that if God directs and lights your path in a different way, that you don't hear it, right? That you miss it. What's one way that God needs to provide guidance on your path? A cairn. And then in a second, I want to kind of close this out in prayer and encourage all of you, just like last week with our little handouts that we did regarding Mount Everest. I want you to keep these, put them in your books, right? Put it near your cell phone, tack it on the refrigerator, or I said put it on your mirror so when you're checking yourself out every day, which you do, it's a reminder for you that God will provide, and in this case, right, He'll give you a cairn that can maybe light your way as you journey with Him. Okay? All right, Father, I thank you in the name of Yeshua for everything that you have done this day, for the lives here that you touch. I pray, Lord, that as you can only do, that you would touch each and every one of us, guide us all along our path, that we might along the way become mature, close sons and daughters reflecting the Son in the world around us. In Yeshua's name, amen.